Welcome back, everybody, to the Keeping It Rural Network, back to the meet and greet series here. I'm Lindsey, your resident blonde butcher. I am here today with the certified Angus Beef guru, we're going to call her. We want to talk all things beef, and in the industry of beef, the certified Angus brand logo is top of the line, top of the shelf, and that's coming from the butcher's mouth herself. So, the certified Angus beef logo is found in your grocery store and on restaurant menus, and especially some of your higher class restaurants and entertainment facilities. It is something you see and may not know the story behind the label. Today, we're going to learn about CAB, Certified Angus Beef, and what that means. This all goes back to 1978. I wasn't born yet. When purchasing a steak could be hit or miss quality and taste on a menu. The founders at CAB said, you know what? We can do better. We can lay down a set of uncompromising standards for taste and then find the best Angus ranchers to help us, which is key in any story. The rest is history from that point on. CAB is one of the most trusted stamps of approval for beef eaters today. Kylee Sellnow is a born and raised Minnesota girl, just like me, that just recently moved back from Ohio. Kylee graduated from SDSU and joined the Certified Angus Beef communications team soon after. Kylee grew up raising beef on her family farm, and showing beef cattle has certainly been a passion of hers, as it has been mine. Kylee, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. Is there anything I missed in your intro that
I was gonna say that's pretty detailed. You hit a lot of that right off
I
the
mean,
go.
you're an SDSU girl, which is I was a U of M girl for a long time, but no, SDSU has claimed my heart, and I've really enjoyed working with a lot of the meat department over there.
Yeah, go Jacks forever blue and gold. Natasha and I actually met through FFA, and a lot of connections and listeners probably know me better as Kylee Coles, but my last name has changed in the last couple of years here. And so we're really excited to be back in Minnesota, back in my rural home community of Litchfield, and still involved in the greater beef industry on a national and global level. So really excited to be here.
Yeah, and I mean, we need more guys and gals just like you doing this. Let's get down to it. Tell me about your journey to certified Angus beef and why is this your passion?
I grew up in central Minnesota raising beef cattle and market lambs. And through my involvement with 4 H and FFA, I really found a love for the communications and storytelling component of our industry, of our business. And so that led me to South Dakota State University, where I majored in agricultural communications with minors in meat science and food safety. And I was involved in so many things on campus, but one of my favorite components of college was the internship opportunities that my education experience provided me. So between my junior and senior years of college, I took a leap of faith and took an internship 14 hours away from home in Worcester, Ohio at Certified Angus Beef. And I was on our producer communications team, where I was doing a lot of communicating from rancher to rancher or rancher to certified Angus beef, and really just gathering some of the stories of the cattlemen and women who are raising certified Angus beef and helping them understand what is certified Angus beef, how do I target it in my herd, and how do I garner the premiums that come along with selling certified Angus beef, or cattle that could qualify for certified Angus beef, excuse me. That was my start. And then after I graduated in 2020, I was asked to join the communications team as a whole at Certified Angus Beef. And today I would help lead our content team. And that looks really different every day. So sometimes it's editing videos and photos. Sometimes it's being on the ranch. Actually, later this week, that's where I'm headed, is a ranch in Texas. And we're capturing that family story to be able to share with consumers, food service distributors, retailers, independents, anybody who is selling certified Angus beef. So excited to do that component. Another component of my job is a lot of writing, whether that's news releases or feature stories, social media captions, even some marketing materials Our team is really diverse and super talented. And so I work with about 30 other communications team members who we are always trying to drive demand for registered Angus cattle at the end of the day. When you ask about my passion, like where it comes from, obviously growing up, I had a large passion, but I think since I've joined the workforce in this industry specifically, I'm really motivated by the fact that I work for and with cattlemen and women who are raising Angus cattle every day. Certified Angus Beef, we are a subsidiary of the American Angus Association. So we are owned by Angus farmers and ranchers. We are led by Angus farmers and ranchers, and we get to work with them every day. So that's something really cool that I hang my hat on at the end of the day, knowing that my work is influencing their livelihoods.
I love it. I love that. Very well said. So let's get down on this beef you're promoting. There are 10 quality standards that beef have to be met to be certified under your brand. Can you break them down for us and talk about it?
Absolutely. I'm going to break it down into three categories to kick us off. So we have 10 qualifying specifications in order for beef to qualify for certified Angus beef. The first component is marbling maturity. The second is consistent sizing. And the third is quality, appearance, and tenderness. So let's break down that first one to begin. Marbling maturity. The first three specifications that stack up into this would be modest or higher marbling. This is the taste that consumers are going to enjoy the most. This is also going to identify with the second standard, which is medium to fine marbling texture. This gets you to upper 2/3 choice or higher. So if you're familiar with the beef grading scale, that is where we are going to fall in quality grade. And then the third specification is cattle have to be 30 months of age or less by dentition and only a maturity lean. This ensures that you're getting a leaner animal that's younger in age, and we can guarantee that quality and color along with that. The second area is consistent sizing. So specification 4 is a 10 to 16 square inch ribeye. Number 5 is an 1,100 pound hot carcass weight or less. Number 6 is 1 inch or less fat thickness on that ribeye. And then quality, appearance, and tenderness, the 4 that stack up under that component would be superior muscling in those animals. This limits light muscled cattle that might be a little bit more dairy influenced or things like that. Practically free of capillary rupture. This ensures the most visually appealing steak. You don't want any of those dark spots in the meat to identify that. No dark cutters. Again, along with the visual appearance of a steak, we know that consumers eat with their eyes first at the meat case. And then number 10, no neck hump exceeding 2 inches. This safeguards our brand against cattle with more variability in their tenderness that come along with some specific breeds. So those 10 standards are all measured after a black hide comes off the animal.
Yeah. Do you do anything with the red Angus?
We do not.
We do
Nope.
not. We
Nope.
black.
Yep, we are a subsidiary of the American Angus Association, which the Red Angus Association would be a different association.
Gotcha. You touched on a lot of really great points, and those are very high standard cattle. And I think for the high school kids listening to this and people who might be listening who are new to the meat industry, upper 2/3 is right below prime, which is the top of the ladder. Like top of the ladder. I purchase upper 2/3 in my place all the time. That's my standard. It's not overly fat. It's perfect. And so you made a lot of really great comments, and that's a window you have to hit, and you have to be very talented to hit those 10 windows as a herdsman. So that says a lot for the ranchers and farmers and producers that you guys are working with. Flavor is something that keeps beef eaters coming back more and more. Like you stated, people eat with their eyes, which sometimes isn't always the best thing. I think, especially for me as a butcher, I end up having to explain a lot of things as well.
Absolutely.
But we do know it's first and foremost what's going to get them to pick up your brand. So, with that being said, what provides the best flavor in your beef, and how is it ensured when purchasing that has been certified and guaranteed to them?
Absolutely. So First of all, marbling, that white texture that you're going to see in your cut of beef, that is where flavor comes from. And so that is the number one indicator. And when you talk about upper 2/3 choice and prime, that is going to have more marbling in those cuts of beef. And so that's really a key indicator to look for. We make it easy at the meat case by just telling consumers to look for our logo, because if there's a certified Angus beef brand logo on that package, it has to have met all 10 of those specifications, ensuring a juicy and delicious bite every time, because it has to fall within those specifications.
Yeah. So, what do meat eaters need to know about preparing and starting to cook their beef?
Yeah. I think this is a loaded question that honestly the chefs on our team would be so much better at answering. I'm first of all going to tell you to go to the Certified Angus Beef YouTube channel or your social media of choice, because our chefs do an outstanding job of sharing some of those tips and tricks and hacks at what am I looking for at the meat case? What do I do with this next now that I've purchased this cut that's on sale this week from our grocery store? But I think really some things that I love to think about when I have a cut of beef that I'm cooking for my family is a good cut of beef only needs salt and pepper. And you can do so much, whether you're grilling it, you're a cast iron fan, there's so much versatility with salt, pepper, and a good cut of beef. I think when it comes to storing beef, if you are somebody who likes to stock your freezer and have it on hand at all times, I am a huge proponent of asking for a primal at the meat case and cutting it at home and vac sealing it myself. I find that is more affordable option for me and my husband. And it also gives us the flexibility and accessibility when you live in rural Minnesota to have great beef in your freezer all of the time. And then, yeah, when it comes to cooking beef, man, I love a good grilled steak, but I think there are so many cuts that are underutilized that people just don't even know about that
Yeah.
I love to cook with. So I love to cook in general. My husband loves to man the grill. So we're a pretty good team when it comes to using some of those.
All of it.
Yeah, all of it. Honestly, yeah. We'll love a good ribeye or strip steak, but some of our favorites are like flat irons and flanks and like sirloin flab and bavette steak.
Do you know how many I have ground over my career as a butcher? That now I'm like,
Too
they're high
many.
dollar cuts. All summer long, flank steaks were as expensive as ribeyes. Um,
Absolutely.
it's just a belly muscle that I've put into hamburger for the last 11 years. But have you noticed since 2020 such a huge difference? Like 2020, I feel like if we were to talk about a silver lining of 2020, it definitely put agriculture back on the map. It put
Absolutely.
proteins back on the map. It put the butcher back on the map. There was nothing cool about being the Main Street butcher when I bought my place 11 years ago. It was a dying art, it was a dying thing. And now after 2020 and people were stuck at home, they were watching the cooking channels, they were trying new things, they were forced to have to feed themselves and learn recipes. Have you seen the uptick like I have?
Yeah, I would say that a lot of our partners, those who are selling certified Angus beef, whether that was in food service, took a dive for a little while. The restaurant business was really hurting, but that retail business totally spiked up. And I would
Yeah.
say we've leveled off again. Like we have come back to a point where we're trying to find a new balance. But I would agree that the people who loved or realized that they loved cooking at home are going to cook more at home. And the people who realize that they miss the restaurants are going back to their favorite places and finding those local spots to support, because I think it goes beyond supporting a local farmer in some instances too, right? Like that local farmer could be supplying the beef for certified Angus beef that's getting served in a local restaurant. It's a full circle moment for so many of those involved. And we just launched a new program with certified Angus beef called Certified Angus Beef Ranch to Table that does exactly that. It allows local producers to work with a local butcher shop and end up with a package of beef from their ranch with a certified Angus beef logo on it.
That is so cool. That is so niche cool.
Yes.
Because story right now, that is the story.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers grandma and grandpa hanging a steer from their tree anymore. The disassociation with where our food comes from
Mhm.
it's not there. And it's interesting, and I'm gonna call out your generation, your youngins.
Yeah,
Uh,
totally.
you're really the driving force behind it, though. You're the ones asking the questions and being like, I don't get this. What's the story? Where is this really coming from? How are we raising it? Which is phenomenal. It wasn't something I would have projected 11 years ago when I started in the
Right.
industry. And
Yeah,
I do want to give a shout out to Cab because during 2020, I purchased a lot of certified Angus beef in my locker, especially through the holidays to make sure I'm getting those primal cuts. Not only the quality, but the consistency. And that is
absolutely.
so key for somebody like me who is in the middleman sector of being able to purchase in a product and know that I am getting consistent quality. I'm not having a knife put through my prime rib and have to sector off 6 pounds of it and take
Absolutely.
that loss. The quality withstood everything. So kudos to your guys' brand,
Thank
not only
you.
through 2020, but consistently. It's so the name of the game when you're putting a product out nationally to be used.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
so
Thank you.
yeah, that is
Yeah.
what I love about certified Angus beef. I'm always getting what I order. You
Yes,
guys
absolutely.
pull a lot of things.
Yeah,
There are other companies that will if you get a case of, prime rib and there's 4 prime ribs in there, you might get a 12-pounder to a 20-pounder, and then you might
absolutely.
get one that is a cruddy lip on it, or they'll throw one in to just ship it and get rid of it. Might
Mhm.
not fit the total spec, but they're gonna ship it anyway, so then I'm stuck with them.
Right,
It either ends up expensive hamburger or meat raffle meat at the local
right.
bar. I hate to say that. I'm sorry
It's
to my
so
local
true.
bar,
It's so
but
true. And
it
I
is.
think we can go back and thank our founding fathers for those 10 specifications. Exactly to your point. Those are based on the foundation of taste, quality, and consistency. And if we're not hitting those three factors, we're not doing our job as a brand. So it's great to hear you say that and know that is truly what's coming in the box that you're receiving.
Yes, and we do lots of fundraisers that are prime rib fundraisers. We'll go probably close to 15,000 pounds of prime rib in fundraisers of cooking it. I see a lot of prime rib every year, and that's just my month of September. I know.
Wow.
I can
That's
send you
awesome.
pictures. I have
You
pictures.
should.
Of
I should
beef
come.
around
That's
the
really
country.
what should happen.
You
Yes.
should come. You are in it stage. And I think the other thing that I really wish I could get people learning and when I get the chance to teach consumers and people who ask a lot of these questions is when you have your 10 points, how talented and how great of a herdsman you have to be to hit those 10 points in your herd. The amount of time, the education, the resources that these ranchers, farmers, and producers use is it's a team. It's a team to hit all of them. I see all facets of beef come through my door, and some days I just wanna tell some farmers, "You just need to give up. Just quit or better yourself." The quality beef, when I do see it come through, are people who are selling to you guys as well, and I'm fortunate enough to get some of their beef locally. So that's huge. So I think a lot of consumers could learn a lot from that.
Yeah. And
Uh,
I think because we're owned by the American Angus Association, we have a lot of data to back up what we do from a
that's
animal genetic standpoint and just the progress that the breed as a whole has made over the last 45 years really since certified Angus beef was started. Like you mentioned in the intro, our brand was started because of a bad eating experience in Chicago with an Angus rancher who was like, I know my cattle can do better. And here we are 45 years later, selling over 1.2 billion pounds of certified Angus beef on an annual basis. And that's just crazy to think about how our industry has really rallied behind the quality component of the end product, but
yeah.
two, helping to meet consumer demand and help consumers really understand what they want in a beef product. And I think it, to your point, yes, it is more than just genetics. It is production practices. It is learning the marketability of your livestock and what that looks
Oh,
like.
nutrition? Oh my god.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, if I'm a producer, how do I get this? Is this
Mm.
me shipping cattle and then I get a dividend back saying, "Hey, your cattle fit the CAB qualifications," or is this an interview process I have to do with you guys?
That's a great question. Today, certified Angus beef, all we own is the logo. We own that little trademark. We do not own any cattle. We do not own any beef. We don't own any ranches. We don't own any of that. We only own a logo. And when I shared that we are owned by the American Angus Association members, we truly are. So, how this works is if a producer wants to target certified Angus beef in their herd, really it starts with Angus genetics and then some of those production practices we talked about. And from a marketing standpoint, cattle that are sold on the grid marketing, if you're familiar with that term, that is how cattlemen can receive a premium for their beef. Now, there are a few caveats to that, like this ranch to table program, but you would still earn a premium on the beef that you're selling as certified Angus beef. That is really what it all boils down to. Grid marketing. I am not the expert on this. Give that a Google or find Paul Dykstra at your next cattleman event. He is our
Paul,
Paul Dykstra. Find him at NCPA or Angus Convention.
or sign up for Paul's email.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
know, we had the pleasure of meeting him through SDSU's Beef SD extension program, and I get his email weekly.
Yeah, the Insider is a great one to get in your inbox. If you go to cabcattle.com, you can sign up for the Insider there. It's either every week or every other week.
It's something like that. I do get behind on my my days, but
Me too, obviously.
yeah, like Paul's a really great resource for you guys. And I know grid marketing, especially for a younger generation like you guys starting up in the beef industry, I know it's confusing and scary, and
Mhm.
grid marketing it's a lot to learn. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. It's still it can be a gamble, but what in the cattle industry isn't, right? Um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, I think that's a really great comment to check out Paul for any direction because your guys' dividends, they're huge. They add a lot of value to a producer. The
Yeah.
work is definitely worth it. So let's focus a little more on the farmer and rancher here. We talked about the standards for raising these cattle. Do you guys have care standards, environmental standards? Everybody's all about the environmental standard right now, which I think you and I both know and can speak for cattle producers that they are some of the best environmentalists that have to keep fighting this fight that's exhausting when we know they're doing phenomenal jobs. What do you guys have to say about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we like to talk about sustainability at Certified Angus Beef in three core pillars. We talk about animal care or animal welfare because we know that over 50% of consumers, when they think of sustainability, they actually think of the animal's care first and foremost as part of sustainability. The second tier that we talk about is the environment. And like you just mentioned, farmers and ranchers are some of the best stewards of the land that we can possibly have. And the cow plays a huge component in keeping the land healthy. And then third is people. We know that it takes a community to continue this industry, this business as a whole. So we are trying to do our part in investing in the next generation and keeping rural communities alive and thriving.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to break down even more of those. Our sustainability program is something I'm really proud of, as I've had the opportunity to work pretty closely with our team that has crafted some of that, but also worked with the farmers and ranchers who've really helped uplift so much of that and see it in practice every day.
Talk about some of the challenges that you guys are facing. We talk
Mhm.
about the carbon credits and the environmental attacks right now. And I think the hardest thing to get through people's heads is the investment people, these farmers and ranchers and producers have in their cattle, that mistreating them or being inhumane is an unheard of thought in their head. But we know media likes to show other things that
Always.
aren't always true and the most favorable situations, unfortunate situations that we know do happen. But we know the producers at the level that you're working at, that's not in their code of ethics. It's not the cowboy ethic code or cowgirl code by any means of the thing. So, talk about some of the challenges right now you guys are facing.
Sure. So, our commitment to quality care and the standard that we hold across our business actually we fall back on industry standard of beef quality assurance. We highly encourage our farmers and ranchers to become beef quality assurance certified, which then helps us to share the message of how we're verifying that the beef that folks are picking up at the meat case or finding in a restaurant has been handled with care or raised with respect. And so we're really trying to do our part in helping farmers and ranchers stay up to date with some of that certification. If you are in the Midwest, I'm going to call it the true corn belt, we have 10 beef quality assurance events happening over the next calendar year that if you're in an area where you want to go and get beef quality assurance certified in person, Certified Angus Beef is hosting those events across 10 states this year. And so we're really excited to get behind these farmers and ranchers and help them tell their story, really is what it comes down to, because they've been doing it for ages. We just needed an extra support in verifying what that means and what that looks like on our farms and ranches to be able to help the consumer understand. From an environmental standpoint, we have partnered with Ducks Unlimited. We know it's a cattle and ducks seem like a unique symbiosis, but there is one there. We are working in the prairie pothole region of North Dakota to do some research from an environmental standpoint on how cattle are working with wildlife, as well as creating cleaner air and waterways for the habitats of these animals and for the longevity of the prairie pothole region. So we're in year 2 of that partnership and really excited about some of the data that's coming back out of that partnership with Ducks Unlimited.
For sure. That'll be interesting to see.
Yes, yeah, really love that partnership. And then on the people side of things, we really invest a lot in the next generation in the beef business. And so if you are in college or even high school, I would encourage you to check out the Colvin Scholarship. Last year, we gave over $100,000 in scholarships to students who are pursuing beef in some form or fashion, whether that's animal science, meat science, even food science, and everything along the way. That's a really cool opportunity. We also support culinary schools. So if you've ever heard of the Culinary Institute of America or Johnson and Wales University, those are 2 of the bigger culinary schools here in the United States. So we get to connect with those students in their classrooms with certified Angus beef. And then we have a really cool event that we host in Worcester, Ohio, called Connecting the Culinarian. And that is a chance for 5 to 7 culinary students and 5 to 7 ranch students who come together, and we spend about 3-4 days together and learn how each other's work influences the other. And hopefully we're creating that bond, that relationship that lasts through the lifetime of their careers as they're committed to either the culinary or the cattle industries. And so we're really excited that event happens each December. And then there's so many other ways to get involved. But seriously, if you have any questions, find us online, and I am happy to also answer any questions that students have as ways to get involved. I also mentioned our rural communities and how we're supporting those to continue to survive and thrive, especially in the wake of natural disasters. We would have something called the Rural Relief Fund that I absolutely adore. When natural disaster strikes, we are able to help farmers and ranchers get back on their feet, whether that's feed or fencing, things like that. Sometimes it's a meal from a restaurant down the road just to help keep those families going when tornado, fire.
The tragedy strikes.
Exactly. Yeah. So there are lots of ways that we are continuing to invest in cattle care, in what that means for our consumers and our farmers and ranchers. The environment is going to remain a priority for all of us involved. And at the end of the day, we wouldn't be who we are without the people in the community that supports us. So
Speaks volumes. I just recently sat on a panel that I was probably not qualified to sit on. I was on with some pretty big wig chemical engineers and other people, and I'm just a little Main Street butcher in Minnesota here. But I was honored to be asked to be a part of it. And the conversation was about protein and protein resources, animal derived and otherwise. Obviously, I represented the animal protein sector. The conversation was a discussion around the fact that within the next 5 to 10 years, we need to be multiplying our protein production by 4 to 5 times what it is now, which is a pretty big bite to chew. It's a pretty big conversation to have. And we were all different people. We had one gentleman that was on from France who is making insect protein. He was fascinating. And I was on there with another gentleman for the animal protein sector as well. But just that conversation and that thought, how is certified Angus beef preparing or to ramp up for not only a growing population? We look at the health world right now, and the carnivore diets are all the rage, and they're seeing the benefits of the protein sectors and all of the health benefits that you get from beef. How are you guys ramping up and preparing for that?
That's a wow, that's a loaded question.
And I didn't prepare you for that, so I apologize, Kylie, but I was curious if you have any insight.
Here's what I know is consumer demand for high quality beef continues to elevate. Like if you looked at that on a chart, it is not going anywhere. I think exactly to your point. And so we have seen over the last even 3-4 years, our acceptance rates of certified Angus beef carcasses into the marketplace has increased dramatically. We are at about a 36% of all fed cattle qualifying and being accepted into the certified Angus beef brand,
That's
which
amazing.
is amazing. I
Yeah.
think we're going to have to continue on that trajectory. And
Yeah.
farmers, ranchers, especially Angus breeders, totally get that. They see that opportunity for us to continue to supply that quality demand that consumers are looking for. And we all know that the cattle cycle is not one you can turn over overnight. It is
Yeah.
one that has a lot of longevity to it in order for that animal to reach its final destination of a consumer's plate. And that is definitely on the mind of our Angus ranchers, seed stock operators, and commercial cattlemen and feeders who are looking to feed generations to come with high quality beef. I don't know if I have a great answer other than we are going to do our best to
Keep
fulfill
doing what you're
quality
doing. Yeah.
demand.
And I'm sorry I threw that at you. I'm going to throw another one in because I'm just curious. Another big conversation is exporting of beef. And we know Japan and I think actually Taiwan just took over, surpassed Japan in beef consumption. We know American barbecue hit them big time and they're loving it. They are absolutely loving American barbecue, which includes a lot of beef. So talk about exports. Do
Yeah.
you with CAB and the demand there, not only in the US, but worldwide?
Absolutely. So certified Angus beef currently sells in 53 countries today. So we are a global beef brand and Japan is one of them. We actually have we have an international sales and marketing team right in house. And we have folks in market who are working directly with distributors and restaurants to help them get high quality beef in their establishments. I would 100% agree with you that that is a huge opportunity for US beef as we think about high quality marketplace. That is only going to continue to get bigger and bigger. I think our top three, and I don't know these in order, whoever's listening, it's Canada, Mexico, and Japan, I believe. So those are our top three marketplaces for export beef today. We would have
Those
three
are big
packers.
markets.
Yeah, they're huge markets. We would have three packers in Canada as well, which is unique. But yeah, those other markets we would be truly exporting into.
Okay, I'm going to ask you another one. Is certified Angus beef, is it all born, bred, raised American beef? Or are you guys allowing outsourcing to other countries as long as they meet the criteria?
So I would say North American. Because we work with the Canadian Angus Association and work with farmers and ranchers in Canada, that would be why I would keep the caveat of North American beef.
North America. Okay,
Yeah.
fair. It's a loaded question right now. So when you talk about your communications job within certified Angus beef, talk about your team and what you guys really do day in and day out. Are you handling emergency situations? Are you handling social media conflicts? We know there is a system called LexisNexis that runs all the topics. You could type in beef and it will show you all the hot topics of the day, or maybe something you should be talking about, or maybe something you should fight back. Tell me about what you do, because communications is, it's not a one lane job.
It is not. And that
No.
is why I would tell you that having a team of 30 in one, the agriculture space, and two, the beef industry space in communications is kind of unheard of, but I'm so fortunate to have the experts we do on our team. Yes, to your point, our PR team would handle crisis communications as well as the headlines you're going to see about certified Angus beef takes you there. We're literally hanging off the side of a cliff eating a 4-course meal. So our PR team is very dynamic in that sense. We would have our graphic design team, we have a web team, we have a multimedia team. That would be the team I'm probably engaged with the most from a photo, video, and just like content standpoint. We do have a social media team. And then, of course, we have copywriting and more of that kind of marketing, PR, copywriting area. And then something really unique about our communications team is that we have 3 chefs that sit on our communications team that support our PR needs, as well as our social media needs that are truly focused on connecting directly with the consumer. So whether that is on our social media channels or a familiar face that they might see on the morning news in a food segment, we really try to keep that connection right there with our chefs as being a friendly and approachable face to beef, because
Right.
we know that beef can be really intimidating, especially when you're one, spending that much money, or two, you're not a confident cook in your kitchen. We want to be there to help solve some of those problems and qualm those fears, because beef doesn't have to be intimidating. It is only when we let it. I think that covers most of our communications team. We're pretty dynamic in that regard. Some of us wear more hats than others, but truly I'm really blessed and fortunate to work with the crew that I do that handles all of that. Oh, and our producer communications team would work, of course, with our cattlemen. So they support supply development, product procurement, things like that. So lots of things happening just in communications. I mentioned we have a
Yes.
international team, we have events and education, we have our marketing team, we have our sales team. There's our
Influencers.
yeah, we have our prepared and packaged solutions team. They're working on value-added product innovations, which is really cool.
Okay, Kylie, I won't throw any more left field questions at you. I'm going to ask you the last question that we do ask all of our guests on our podcast. And that is, what do you do to keep it rural in your
Mm.
everyday life? Other than your job every day, right?
Yeah, I think rural to me means community. Growing up in Litchfield, I grew up in a really strong ag community where so many of our businesses and people in our community are involved in agriculture. And moving away for 3.5 years, I have to tell you, that's one of the things I miss the most. Not that I couldn't submerge myself in the community of Worcester, Ohio, but it was something that had already been established for me from a very young age, whether that was going to church or being involved in 4-H and FFA. And so I think to keep it rural means to continue to give back and serve in your community and be involved in whatever way that looks like to you. And I'm really excited to be back in Minnesota and continuing to do that with my family.
Oh, I love it. It's so true. Growing up in a small town, I never thought I'd come back, but there's a lot to be said about coming back home of a town you were excited to get out of. And
Yeah.
yeah,
My mom gives me a lot of grief. She's like, "You were
so does
never
mine.
coming back." And here I am.
I know. Wait till you have kids, you'll be like, "Oh my god, I'm so glad I'm here, not the big city." Yeah, I know. Kylie, this has been fantastic diving into this topic and giving people such a glimpse into certified Angus beef and what it means, its standards, its quality. And I'm going to tell you, recommended from your Main Street Butcher Girl right here, too. It's some of my favorite products. And maybe a lot of people listening to this didn't understand, and hopefully they do now, what you all put into this product at the end of the day. Thank you so much for being with us today on our meet and greet. I'm confident when our listeners see the certified Angus beef label, they're going to want to pick you up first after hearing and understanding what your farmers and producers go through to get that product from their farm and ranch to the grocery store aisles or to the Main Street Blonde Butcher's locker, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, yes. So from now on, they'll understand the work that went into just that specific cut of beet and the resources that you guys have available for this really great product. So thank you so much for your time, Kylie. And we look forward to seeing what Certified Angus Beef has down the road and enjoying it on our plates at night.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. And seriously, I can't wait to come visit your butcher shop soon.
It's not a party without you there. Follow Our Crazy on Facebook and Instagram, and be sure to check out all episodes and extras at keepinitruralgirls.com.
That's all, folks.